Hello, everyone, and welcome back to VALORANT Challengers North America Stage 2. 2-0 to be kicking off today. Let's see if the next series can deliver us that third map. It's going to be Oxygen taking on TSM. And I mean, Vans, honestly, Oxygen have been on a cooker so far here in Challengers. They won the mid-season cup. They look better and better every week. I mean, we're talking about powerhouse teams here in the league, and they're right there, top of the list.
I'm at the point where it's kind of boring to talk about Oxygen Esports and Turtle Troop because they could do no wrong so far throughout the Challengers, right? At least for M80, there's some spice, there's roster changes. They're not looking that great. They need to iron things out. Clock's ticking. They need to win Ascension again. They need to fix things early. MXS, rough first maps, etc., etc. But then Oxygen and Turtle Troop is just like, they're going to win today.
Hey, even if the story of like, hey, Oxygen doing really, really good isn't the most compelling, because you need to have a little spice, a little drama in there. Looking at the roster and the team itself, watching them play, that's where things definitely get interesting. Always have been a fan of watching this roster and how they adapt to situations. I mean, Scuba, Verno, and Redux, like these young players that have so much potential. Kiwi. I mean, this is a team that gets out there in your face, and that is always the exciting part of them.
Yeah, they are the best team in Challengers right now, and no one's really challenging the throne. I mean, M80 had a good shot. I'm just so unaware, so I'm glad I made you laugh. But M80, Turtle Troop have both lost to Oxygen 2-0. Moist Shopify have lost them 2-1. So it's the top of the leaderboards is definitely getting close. It's getting tight, but Oxygen are very firmly at the top. But they're facing up against a lot of teams who have changed their rosters, that have done different things. So that's where they could be surprised. But Oxygen are the ones that also pull out the fun comps on the maps.
That's what I like. They're winning, and they're like, yeah, we're still going to be adapting. We're still going to bring out stuff like Clove and whatnot. So it's always been a good time here. And I mean, when we're looking at Oxygen, even if some people are trying to contest that top spot so far right now here, Vans, they're a team that week after week, they're looking more coordinated as well. They only had one change heading into stage 1. Other than that, it's still the same 4 from last year, and building upon that has been great for them.
100%. I think they're looking pretty good at the same time, too. And you just saw from the replays, by the way, with Oxygen Esports, is when we're trying to look at this team that's supposed to be, that looks coordinated or not, when they're not. They also have players that can just step up to the plate and do these type of like hero rounds, right? Remember that Verno 3K that we just saw a couple of screens ago, where he's just popping off in like a buy where they only had like a Vandal as a hero rifle and still made it work. So really, they could do no wrong this time around, and they're just doing so good at just punishing any team that they play against this season.
Yeah, it's definitely been a journey for people to be trying to knock them off of that top spot here. We'll have to see going on to today how challenged Oxygen can be. And we want to talk about a player coming out from each of these squads here. And look at Verno going up against 7 in this matchup here, Jen. I mean, Verno is someone that week after week has been so exciting to watch. But 7, I mean, there's a lot to talk about here too.
Yeah, both these players are very even, surprisingly, and there's a lot of zoomer aim on Oxygen's side, and Verno is great to watch because he brings those initiators, but he can also swap to something like KJ. Oxygen can sometimes trade those roles, but Verno is someone who pulls out a 2.0 KDA against a lot of the top teams. Like, they face serious teams recently, and for Verno to still have those numbers is what is impressing me.
Yeah, and for 7 on the other end is, I feel it could be very similar as well, right? Because 7 in the past, when he first joined TSM, also had maps where he's going to have to play a Cypher, for example, whereas last week, where on Split he usually plays the Cypher, he switched out to play more of initiator role. And now that he's unlocked a little bit more for TSM's side, where he could actually be a little bit more loose and support and do heroic plays wherever he needs to and not be anchored up in one spot. Sometimes that's that little spice that you need over for a roster like TSM to make these type of plays. So now I'm loving here from what I saw from 7 last week, playing this guy on Split. Looks so good. He had like a trip kill and just being in good positions. Because also when you're playing a Cypher player or you're playing a Sentinel role, you kind of have to be in these nerdy angles when you're being pressured upon. And he knows what spots he needs to take. He knows what spots that he's going to have to play against players that are going to rush against him. And he's putting great value right now for TSM under this role.
And 7, I feel like it stands for the lucky number 7. He's a vet in the scene. He's been part of huge teams, 100 Thieves, T1, and I think he's even more flexible. He can play the double duelist. He can play the Yoru if needed. Fade on Lotus, K on Sunset, Gecko on Bind, Sky on Split. You never know what you're going to face against TSM when it comes to initiators, where a lot of teams have a certain play style, a certain set of initiators they like, but 7 can literally play anything, and that's what makes him such a valuable asset for TSM.
I mean, you're talking about vets on the team, and looking at this TSM roster, despite the win-loss that they have here in this league, this is a team that has those vets and has these players that are capable of stuff. Challengers this split and last split as well has been, we've been upgrading people. We have been upgrading. So this has been a little bit difficult pressed to be finding the wins that you would maybe expect under this TSM banner. And it doesn't help that they're kind of just getting a little bit of bad luck flagged their way. They did get a victory last week, but that was also off of the back of a sub having to come in as well, due to medical issue coming on through. So it's a TSM that I don't feel like they've really gotten that break. And hopefully now they got everyone here, everyone healthy, that we can see a TSM that's a little bit more revitalized here, Jen.
Yeah, and TSM have sat comfortably and consistently in the middle. But you know that that's not the goal for anyone to be mid. They want to be at the top. And they've taken maps against top teams like M80, and they can consistently beat teams that are below them. Now, Coach Faded joined them right around the mid-season cup. This is a roster that has stayed together and hasn't done roster changes a lot, like besides a lot of other teams. So Coach Faded, this is a long-term project, and these guys believe in each other to stay together, and that's very rare to see in esports.
Yeah, and talking on that, I want to be pulling up this one tweet coming out here from EMD talking about last week. This was a victory, but still kind of referencing the fact, didn't call the best, play the best. We take these wins, GG. So this is something too, Vans, that on the players' end of things, they know that, hey, there is still this next level to be hitting. The win against Blinn Esports, this wasn't the max that this team can be living up to.
I think GMD is just being very humble at this point, because that last week he still had some great moments as a fragging IGL. And you know what? When you have to play a player down going into the rest of the series and still pull this through against Blinn Esports, you still need some good IGL to make sure that, you know, sure, plays the right spots, the right moment. I mean, look at that. He just won a 1 versus 2 clutch and he thinks he can't shoot? Come on. Shut up, Chemo. But anyways.
Humble king out here. Humble
exactly.
king.
But at least at the same time, like you have to maybe micromanage a little bit more as well, which is maybe why he feels like he wasn't shooting as much, because he can't really play his own into his own element, into his own game. But if it comes down to these moments where he can't actually frag out as much, that's why you have somebody like 7 and Sim, who are the young guns that are coming into the roster, while you have the veterans that has played in so many different roles in teams such as Poised and a Proto over at Phased and LG respectively. You know that they're going to be good for their 1, good for their 2, and be a little bit more independent where you don't need to micromanage as much, right? So TSM for me continues to be that team that I still trust that it can make some good impact in this split 2, in this stage 2, and maybe even make an impact against Oxygen tonight.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, the fact that TSM played with a substitute on maps 2 and 3 and still won, they should be really happy that they, you know, there's a fire and they still managed to live through it. So I think TSM, yes, staying humble, but knowing there is so much work ahead of them, from being mid, being in the middle of the pack, being mid, sure, and trying to reach that top 3, which seems so out of reach with how good the teams and challengers are right now.
Being team solo mid.
I mean, at this point, we've had everything happening this week for our players. So hopefully no power outages, no internet issues, no health issues. Hopefully for TSM, we get the full 5 and we'll get a good fight on ahead of us. Talking about the map picks and bans for this series, I'm hoping we get a 3 map where we'll get to see that sunset, but we're going to be starting off on Lotus, and this one's TSM's pick. Lotus, I think, Jen, has been pretty good on the end of Oxygen. This is where we get to see this scuba clove. So I'm excited to see what TSM is going to deliver us here.
Yeah, the Scuba Clove has been amazing for Scuba. He's just literally a second duelist. Like, he's fragging out of his brains. Like, I think we saw it twice, at least on broadcast, and it's been successful for them. They could still use the Clove smokes. I think it just doesn't last as long, maybe as Omens, and then you lose out on the Paranoia, but that still hasn't hurt, because they can always depend on Mitch as one of my favorite initiators in Challengers to get the entries done. And against TSM, I mean, the experience favors Oxygen on how to execute these sites.
Yeah. On my end, though, when you're looking at TSM being able to play Lotus, I mean, they still let Breeze float through despite this map supposed to be their favorite map. They still lost against Bleeding Esports very badly, but still wanted to float over to Oxygen. I'm pretty sure that's Oxygen's like usual perma ban, so you're gonna put that out of the book. So having Lotus available here for TSM, they had a decent look against M80 when they were playing on the attack side until they took the defensive side. So if they were able to work out some of those kinks as to how they could iron out their own playstyle on the defensive side first, then figure out how they could play against a Clove, they should be in a pretty decent spot. But overall, when you're looking at this BO3, though, if it has to go to a second or third map, I still think that I might have to favor Oxygen Esports this time around, despite me also thinking that TSM is a dark horse of this stage.
I think all of my questions with how the series is going to be shaking up starts with that first map. You have this known quantity that is Oxygen that they can to have a really strong Lotus result. And for TSM, we didn't see it last week. And when we were seeing it during stage 1, it was kind of a little bit up and down for them. The fact that there is this very recent tape on Oxygen, though, this is definitely like for TSM. This is a team that's going to have done their homework. And if they've had a couple of weeks to kind of iron out this Lotus, it could be really, really beneficial. If we see the loss here, though, oh, well, then I'm just kind of worried about that series overall.
Yeah, and Lotus is where the meta, I feel like, has shifted a lot in Challengers from, for example, TSM. They really like to still lean into the Viper and the Sky, and a lot of people have moved away from the Viper and have gone just for either solo controller with Omen, experimenting with Breach and Gecko. That's kind of the flavor of Challengers right now. So I'm wondering if TSM, while trying to grow into a stronger team in the standings, if that has affected the strategy in the comps, especially when you choose a map that Oxygen have been quirky on before. Does TSM have a plan for this Clove?
And I will kind of say, I am still worried if they take the loss on Lotus, but at least on Fine for Oxygen's pick, we got to see a decent look out at TSM last week, and everybody kind of just stepping up across the board here, Van. So I definitely think that there is that potential, though I do think that Oxygen, with how they've been playing and that confidence going on forward, it's going to be a really, really uphill battle, because I don't really think that we've seen Oxygen stumble too much in this, so.
No, agreed, which is why it's super important for TSM to close out the first map here of Lotus to have any type of chance here in this BO3. If it has to go to a third map, I mean, they're two teams that both beat M80 respectively here going into stage 2. So there is some hope to know that, you know, what they've been trying to work out for their Sunset approach for TSM could be something that could work out. Should be a mirror match as well, unless something changes into today's game if we're going to that third map. But overall, it's very difficult right now to get my hopes up about TSM today. I want to be proven wrong, though.
Yeah, I would love to be proven wrong. Our predictions going into this posted on the Knights Arena Twitter. We were all of us were very aligned on how we thought the series was going to go into an Oxygen win, but Jen, honestly, for TSM, if we do see a swap around, I feel this would be about the time for that dark horse switcheroo. Hey, we're making a run starting on now.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how the Sky matchup is going to go between Poised and Mitch, because I think Mitch was one of the more talented Skies that we've had in Challengers, but Poised and just the entirety of TSM have leaned into Sky still on maps like Lotus, and then they could also bring that warm-up into Bind. So that can be what really differentiates how you break into Bind and how you also protect it, because especially holding these long sight lines, Sky is going to be the one that can peek and check that with her flash. So there's a lot of weight on Poise and Mitch to either be the guys that bring the first blood or the first death.
100%. Though we got to focus back up on our first map of the series here and on that Lotus. The fact we've seen the Oxygen on it pretty recently has been nice. last time for TSM has been the mid-season cup fans. I'm curious if they're going to be swapping something up for today. Our agent select's ready, so we don't have to wait long for that one, but we'll see what they're cooking.
Get the answer now.
The Clove is back, baby. Same thing for Oxygen 2 with the Breach, Gecko with the Clove, sacrificing the Viper. And then you got the Fade from TSM. So I was talking about how they really liked the Sky in their last time, the last time they went to Lotus, but they're growing up. They went towards Fade now.
Yeah, that was also something that they've been trying to switch out, actually, most recently as well, just to add a little bit more value in terms of space making, but also most importantly, the amount of scans that you could get from the combination of the flashes. And even if it doesn't get a combination of the flash, that haunt is going to be so important to know where your opponents are leaning towards to in the first 5 seconds of the round. So to me, no surprise to see 7 come out with the Fade once again, and for TSM to not change anything at all. We talked about it before. It's something that they look pretty good on the attack side against M80, but unfortunately here at this point they didn't have too many opportunities to close out any rounds or any rounds at all on the defensive side against M80. So this is a great opportunity for them as they start on the defensive side now to hopefully see that they found solutions as to how they can maximize here the defensive side with this composition, where it's also nothing new in terms of the comp that they're pulling out with. So again, the edge comes through for Oxygen Esports on how they counter such a default comp coming out here from TSM on Lotus.
Yeah, and with the nerfs to Viper, this you're leaning on Clove to use that nade to pressure the A lobby side. It won't be on the defense, at least for now. And it's kind of a one and done versus, you know, a Viper nade that can stay there a bit longer and they can have more firm control. But it's also Scuba. It's a feast or famine type of agent. And I guess as the door opens, GMD says peekaboo, and he's ready for paranoia. He's ready to scrap. And Poise hasn't been checked on this corner. And the timing is a bit off from TSM. GMD a bit asleep, and then the door opens in his face and he gets caught. Oxygen make the most out of that situation.
That was unfortunately Poise overextending. He jiggled like 3 times, but we'll talk about it in a bit. Plat coming in towards the site. Only one player. I mean, they're all dead. So let's talk about it now then. Because they had a great first blood. Opening that door for GMD allows for TSM to know how many players are pressuring early in the round. They get first blood, this is perfect. But this gives an opportunity here for Oxygen to cut noise, try to scale back towards that map, towards the A site. And you saw here, fault line was still available for Poise. So if anything, you needed that Prowler coming out from 7 at a certain point, or for the first juggle from Poise to activate that fault line so that GMD could get the flash, they could get the Prowler coming through, and then they go for a triple swing. But losing that fault line at the beginning just kind of left GMD out on an island stranded, and it just foiled the attempt of a trap play that TSM was trying to do here on the pistol round. So miscommunication going through, or overextension coming out from the peaks of Poise, and Oxygen Esports in a perfect position now to play the anti-eco rifles, 2 double rifles actually, and realizing now that the full pressure was towards the C site becomes an easy plant for Oxygen inside A.
And with the wingman that can plan, that allows Oxygen to already start spreading out around the site, like where Verno and Dapper are, to cut off the B rotations. And the baby door hasn't even been broken, and the Proto's on the other side. There's the reload. Dapper staying steady, but losing it at the end. Oxygen still have the spike plan, and the round will be theirs. But every kill matters, and the Proto is just going to respect this, hopefully to be taken out by the spike.
Good on him to back up as well, because the players started trying to chase him down, where Redux and Verno, but seems like they already understood that, so they tried to push out towards the staircase. A nice second kill. Great damage being done towards the end here from a Proto, and he will also die to spike to deny an orb for Redux. At least, if anything, though, Verno, I think after that death, it should be 1 away from a Thrash, so they're still in a good spot here for Oxygen Esports to control a pretty decent bonus round that they'll pull up. Actually, he's 3 away, so if anything, I miscounted. The dots are so small now on my screen.
Oh, your 40s are showing.
Yeah, man.
You gotta
40s
squint
and change.
But also every kill matters for someone like a Proto, where the neural theft can be acquired much faster than most ultimates. So a Proto getting one there is awesome. So Oxygen now into bonus. Have the rifles. Be able to fight aggressively here out of A lobby, and with the smokes from Scuba, they can make it look like they went into rubble, or they can actually straight up just go there quietly. And TSM will still have poised at that corner, but this time won't have someone in tree to support, so he's actually not even going to challenge A long.
Yeah, it almost felt like the hot miss from 7-2, and fell behind the smoke as well. So they have to play back no matter what here on towards the A site, because they have zero information gathered after the first bait of futility. So it gives a chance now for another 5 versus 5, just like the pistol round.
Oh, the satchel to try and mess somebody up, and at least it gets the attention of a Proto, and Scuba will clean up that kill. 4v4 in the satchel across town from Sim. Great shots out of Mitch. But wait, this flank from TSM is cooking, and it's only up to Verno on the post plant. And based on where it's planted, you know where Verno's going to be. He at least dodges some of the util. There's a lot being thrown his way! The 3K from Verno! He can't be stopped!
They still had so much time left for TSM as well, just to do the simple group up and then just try to flash and swing out. I feel like the aftershock was a little bit preemptive, so it allowed here for Vernal Sword to play in front of the aftershock and then just fall behind. And look at how he isolated those 1-on-1-on-1. There was no flash triple peek. They bodied each other, they blocked each other going up for the swings, and unfortunately that's something that shouldn't be happening at the level of TSM. We talked about the veterancy and the experience of this team. Unfortunately here, those were the veterans that they swung against Verno, that Verno won. And puts down TSM back on an eco.
GMD's on the flank too, and he opened the door, had the paranoia, but the neural theft activated from Dapper. Gonna smell these flankers, and they don't want that to happen, so Oxygen going after Sim, who still gets the one shot with the Sheriff, but wait a minute. It's not impossible for TSM. And Sim just picked up a rifle. They know where he is since he just had a duel that he won, so Sim, True B main, will be smoked off. Oxygen huddling on the site with Redux extending through the top. That's where GMD is going to be rotating to in a second. Time favoring Oxygen. Now the breach util hit, and Sim forcing him back, just hoping to get exit frags at this point. There's so many corners to check, and GMD is discovered. Sim's rifle is denied, and it's 4 in a row for Oxygen.
Would have been an opportunity there to hurt the economy of Oxygen on that 2 versus, what, 5? In the post plant, with some great damage being done and started off there by Sim. It allows at least for them to get those 2 kills, get an operator out, and on top of that, small shields. So that's actually great that Sim got those 2 picks with the Sheriff. Can't buy a boombot this round, but the op is going to be the main piece that's going to hold and anchor down the C site for the first initial contact. Wally Proto is going to be the second man behind with the trip kill, set up for a counter of Redox's satchel should Oxygen decide to go towards this C site. Well,
good thing Gecko has a buzz cut. He just saw top of his head at the mound. Redux, dip dive, and dodge, and the first kill. But Sim with the op shot too that stopped one person on entry for Oxygen. With the smokes, with the nades, Oxygen have their bases covered, and the plant as well. 2-man advantage for Oxygen on the post plant. Poise was discovered. Dapper still gets diffed somehow. So TSM could be coming through the B-Link door, but of course Oxygen should be expecting this, and they'll have people on mound to crunch this.
It looks like GMD is just setting up towards spawn, though. They're not going to commit towards this, especially when Scuba has the res, they have the second Thrash, and they also have an ult. This is going to be a save round here for TSM, but I still like the attempt of what we tried to do there from Sim and Proto. With that satchels that came through, that was probably that key piece of util from the trip that was placed by a Proto, so that Sim could continue an aggressive line to get that first pick, the first blood. But unfortunately, the satchels went just above the trip, where Redux didn't get pinned. And that would have potentially given a chance for a guaranteed trade, because no matter what, Sim was dead to rights with a Thrash coming in from behind him. But because that trip didn't hit, it just allowed there for Redux to move in really quickly inside the C site and get that pick. And now it's 5 unanswered rounds for Oxygen Esports on the attack side. And TSM, they're going to call out their timeout. They need to continue, or they need to chat towards those fundamentals that they need to iron out very early in this game. Because again, it's a hard defensive half that we're seeing here from TSM.
I'm distracted by a proto trying to fix his wall, and it just throws it. I'm so dead. Oh, we gotta focus now. We gotta talk shred. But yeah, Oxygen. Look how many times Redux has died though. Like, he's satcheling in, and TSM haven't punished that entry. They'll go 1 for 1, yeah, and with the op shot, that was cute from Sim. But Oxygen, when they take the site, every entry is covered. Like, every doorway is covered. And there's no gaps in knowledge. There's no gaps in map awareness that you could really exploit if you're TSM, at least when it comes to the C site. And they've had cute trap plays that you've pointed out, speaking of TSM at A long, but it hasn't won them around. So we'll see how TSM will grow past this timeout.
That goes there.
It'll potentially have to be in another round as well. Somehow Poise going with a hero rifle, but no armor. So they could hopefully try to do some pot damage with the Sheriff, and then he cleans it up with the Phantom. But as they see no opposition here towards the A site, Orb now picked up by Sim. A walk-in from Oxygen inside this B site, finally spotted by Poise. Now that engages the aggression of Oxygen Esports. No choice but to move in for a plant.
Oh! Wait, Mitch went for the aftershock, and then Poise swung and won that. So 4v4 with the plant. Oxygen now are getting smoked off though, and they don't want to be close with all the util. TSM are dumping in, including the showstopper from Sim. Thankfully, the splash didn't hit Redux's friend, who was also in that closet, but Scuba is still, I guess, alive. Will use the ult, but cannot get to a safe spot. The Nightfall is used now from 7 on the retake, and that is enough to kill Oxygen and give TSM their first round.
So the hero rifle actually turns out to be the play there for Poise, as he's able to get that first blood against Mitch, and also drop in that player. That doesn't allow any stall to happen inside the site, as TSM are able to finally have an opening to be able to flood back in. So yes, definitely use the showstopper in, create that space. And as they never broke the baby door for Oxygen, they thought they were able to knock out the showstopper before he lets go of the rocket. But this is still Sim you're talking about, right? So he's a young fragger. He's going to react faster than I can. And he lets that rocket out and gives a chance here for TSM to convert a Thrifty. But Oxygen do not look like they want to give a chance for TSM to come back. It's quick. Double satchel towards main. Rocket ready. Trip broken. And B site open.
Scuba smokes in place, so they'll be left alone on the plant. Showstopper from Redux, and waiting a second before going in. Neural theft from Dapper. That'll tell you where to put the showstopper, but they're too far away and time ran out. Paint shells though into the closet where TSM were detected. Behind the Prowler, TSM flooding back in. They have control of the B site. Redux with the boombot. We'll see how close they are. Drop fire towards that boombot. Spike will be tapped, and peekaboo from Mitch, 1-1, leaving Oxygen with the one-man advantage. Still in the post plant. Time running out, and Oxygen get the job done.
And now you're also understanding why certain teams on Lotus in the past or a caster, like, why are they continuously pushing towards spawn and not playing post plans towards B main? And you're starting to see and realize that right now for Oxygen Esports, when you're playing under a good roster and you're able to take that map control towards that spawn, you're not really giving a chance here for the defenders to be in good positions to cover the one that's defusing the spike. Now you can flood back from main, you can flood back from heaven, and it just overwhelms TSM way too much, especially with the continuous smokes that are being thrown here by Scuba. Now this is pure conditioning. Satchels towards the B main once again with the fault line, and Sim though manages to get the lurker, so that's actually a great start for TSM. Hop back, and they find a result.
Yeah, Oxygen made it look like they were about to hit the B site 3 times in a row, so Poise was playing close. ready to catch that, but the hit is actually going towards C, and it's up to a Proto and his friend GMD. There's no paranoia. They get hit by a rolling thunder from Mitch. This pushes TSM out of the site, and a Proto into a horrible position he cannot get out of. Verno will take a hit from the Boombot because he was trying to set up a thrash. He's gonna go and hunt down and actually detain one. But Oxygen kind of walked into a trap. TSM's retake may actually be successful for the first time at sea. It's all up to Redux. Scuba can still put smokes down while dead, but having none left, Redux is out of hope.
I'm doing a Leonardo DiCaprio pointing on my screen like, look at that. That is the protocol that I wanted. Just holding my cup saying, look, a flash, 3-2-1 swing, double swing that came out from spawn, and also sim from waterfall to get that pick. No shenanigans this time around. That timeout was needed, and now you're starting to see some clean Valorant coming out from TSM. But at the very start, when Oxygen Esports had no choice but to commit towards that C site, I love as well that the fault line came out from Poise. It slowed down towards C main. The paranoia hit. That was that piss around that they were trying to do, just to slow down very fast pushes that Oxygen could really do here with this breach and also this clove. So nicely done to delay all that, deny the wingman plant, and also gives a chance here through all the chaos for them to set up for the retake.
Hey, and post timeout, TSM are 2-1 with 2-round wins since then. So GMD taking damage, but healed back up, it seems. So TSM have stacked more towards C, knowing Oxygen have been so hard to dislodge from that spot. Pushed up on the opposite side is Sim with the op. But is Oxygen gonna try out B when one of their offensive round wins came from dominating B?
And I like it, because the comp that you have from Oxygen, the only thing you can do is fault line. But before you do that, you have to be grouped up to try to take rubble control. They can't scan it out, so I like this forward position. So this allows, look at this, all of TSM to focus more on a C site setup and then a B site stall with this fault line, C's, potentially even aftershock coming through the waterfall. It just depends what Seven's going to get and if he can actually catch some players with the C's.
There we go.
Boys with the aftershock and Oxygen with first blood getting into the site, dealing with 7. So that's already one initiator out of the picture and one left. But Oxygen have faked it. They've gone to C, and a Proto will be stoic here until he's put to rest. And even with Poised rushing in to assist, he slashed out too. It's GMD just there to die because Sim is already banking on his op on the opposite side of the world.
Yeah, you saw you Protos on a basketball cart trying to guard the wingman and somehow got his ankles broken as wingman just ran in between. But all this was really good here from Oxygen Esports. What really initiated the attempt of the aftershock and the C's was just Oxygen waiting in the front of it and breaking a trip. As soon as they broke the trip, they're like, haha, we caught you. There's no trap here. And then all that utility was wasted, unfortunately, there for TSM. And then they just opened the door and then went for a full C-side hit, understanding that utility that was oppressing towards this B-site. There was no more stall coming through, and you thought Sim was able to save that up, and it's not going to happen. But at least you have the showstopper, right? Yeah, there you go. Hey, we jinxed.
Glass half full. Yeah, GMD was... I'm surprised GMD even still walked into the site knowing Sim wanted to save, but I guess stuck in waterfall, not able to get out. Said YOLO. But a couple of rounds scrapped from TSM, but Oxygen have quickly put a stop to that. The Clove ult 2. I could see Scuba leading this charge. But Oxygen already switching things up after seeing that one way.
Yeah, I feel like what they need to start doing too is making sure that they break this Cypher cam that Dapper throws up, because as he throws this up and sees nothing and realizes that TSM are playing way more passively, it allows Oxygen Esports to just walk up. And there you go. That's a nice jump spot.
Oh, wow. Sim wins that against Verno's rifle. So Oxygen take over tree, and they have stairs and the back of A site to worry about. And they don't even know if someone's playing on the site, so Oxygen gotta take their time to clear these angles. They've smoked the back of the site so Oxygen can stay focused, and Paint Shells will get some free damage, I guess. Oxygen, focus now on climbing the rope and just cleaning up the back of the site. Oxygen haven't really lost anything throughout this, despite Verno getting first blood at Oxygen. Will thrive. They are injured though. The spike is down. Sim's in a much more painful spot. At least he'll be with poise, but there's no breach util. Just satchels, Boombot, and Adrian, but also a shotgun to the face. Oxygen, it's just a matter of time. And they'll go 8-2.
Still such great discipline coming out, though, from Oxygen Esports. They knew that there was going to be some sort of trap play being done again. I love seeing trap plays because it's pretty much the only thing you could do with this comp. And when Sim was actually spotted and they won that duel with that Guardian, and then you also saw that 7 went for the jump spot, they clearly had to go for a Season 8 denial because they were on an eco. So what they did for Oxygen Esports instead is that they made sure that they just walked up first instead and have Redux move up the rope so that you're just brute forcing and forcing out the Season 8 before the smoke dissipates. So it just broke the whole timing, but at least this time around they just want to fight fire with fire and TSM get first blood again.
Usually Oxygen have been able to smoke their way just into rubble, not expecting the all-out war that TSM put on for A lobby. Spike left behind with Scuba and Dapper pushing through B, and the plan has already crumbled at their feet. You have no idea if someone could be just watching the Spike. Is someone in rubble? What kind of cringe awaits you on the other side? And it's a little too quiet here.
I got the spike.
Yeah, it was really nice just from TSM to fight in front of that smoke. Again, fire with fire. Don't allow for Oxygen Esports to dictate the tempo as they have been, right? Remember all the aggressive satchel charges, that went towards this B site in the very beginning. And now they're able to capitalize with 2 nice kills. Poise is 2 away from an ult. Door being open now gives a cue that there is at least a body somewhere. And the decision now, because they don't have information for TSM, is are they faking to go B or they're just committing for the A side plant? It's the latter. Aftershock comes out. Scuba has an ult with this too. So he's going to have to just delay as much as he can so that Dapper could flank. Denied.
Yeah. I was going to say there's a lot of angles for Oxygen to cover with just 2 people, but to not protect your spike carrier if someone was going to approach. And then all the breach util messed up Scuba. Don't want to waste the ult. Dapper's not even nearby to help, so would have liked if Dapper stayed together, but it's a quirky idea.
Definitely a good start, though. If Scuba actually just got that 1 kill, I think the ult would have been popped here to give a chance for Dapper to engage and initiate the flank. But because he died so quickly, Dapper had to force his hand, move a little bit more quickly, and a Proto was just ready the whole time. So unfortunately for Oxygen Esports, there's no way to be able to capitalize a 2 versus 4. But they're hoping to make it a 3-9.
Oh god, a Proto with 2, and now Scuba's like, wait a minute, this ult puts me in a very bad spot, and then their ult theft 2. Scuba takes 2 L's for the price of 1, and 5 are remaining from TSM, who are on the flank, by the way, so Verno is absolutely cooked. This is TSM bringing so much more aggression, and when they went for these quick A lobby takes, when TSM have gotten in Oxygen's face, it has caught them completely off guard. So showstopper from Redux, but just no map control to work with. Redux will do his best to put the fear in the eyes of TSM and rely on the mechanics, rely on Scuba having a smoke left. And just to protect the spike, now the showstopper is out. Boombot will check the right corner. Redux can focus on tree. The Haunt will detect Redux. And TSM know how to converge, and they've sniffed out Redux. It's all up to Mitch with 1 HP and nothing left. And GMD, does he have enough time? It'll be pretty close. 0.05. Oh my god. How did Oxygen clutch that?
That's the thing, though. After getting a beautiful flank coming out from TSM, the last 2 players outside towards the front of the A site. I mean, look at this crunch. It was beautiful from TSM from the get-go. But these 2, seeing Mitch on this bridge and Redux on this pulse plan, they had full utility still because they didn't need to use any of it towards the A site hit. So then you could delay. You have the showstopper off the kill list there. We're able to move towards the spawn and isolate that single player on the rotate up towards the A site for TSM. And then Oxygen were able to convert the round in the end because we took too much time. And it's understandable. They had to wait out the showstopper. So that was just a very nice heads-up play from both Redux and Mitch. And now we have the 9-3 that we wanted for Oxygen Esports, with TSM starting to find their footing, but not enough.
Oh, jeez.
Spike down.
Seven just dropped the spike. And there's
Yeah.
a choke point there, and Oxygen are taking all the map control and winning every... Okay, that's a Raze's back. Sim is not even turning around. There's action all over. TSM didn't even have time to think, and Oxygen one pistol.
Yeah, it's like, hey, with this comp, you wanted to throw a fade eye towards C? Nah, we're just going to fault line double satchel through, throw some closed utility on top of that, just to make sure that we oppress now any type of default that you want to start here for TSM, not giving him a chance to read the pistol run at all, and it gives so much momentum now for Oxygen Esports. Catching him off guard like that and taking a lead by 7, you're forcing a buy no matter what for TSM with no plant. So this is such a brutal buy for TSM here.
At least for Mound, walking into an outlaw is not going to be a fun time, but Redux, red GMD crossing that, managed to even escape no punish from TSM, but at least they got the orb. What do you do from here? A man down.
Not much.
Wait for the next round, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, you're going to try to, right? You're just waiting out the smokes. You're hoping that OXG stays overconfident here and they could overpeak and then get punished. At this point, I mean, look at them. They're just waiting so far, trying to jump across. Now they know. They have an opportunity here. Nice flash. But no kill. Oh. There you go. Oh, wait.
Oh, the outlaw. Oh, the classic, not as cute. But a plant for TSM 3v3 on the post plant. Coming through the top side, though, is Mitch. Still a flash in hand, poised, playing close to Waterfall to catch Verno. And then the push comes in from Oxygen through the top. And Mitch, I got kind of mixed up with too many angles to cover. Mitch and Verno get the last laugh. Really great team play.
Yeah, too many angles to look at on the other end, too, for TSM. An opportunity for Poise to punish some players that were just jiggling, and unfortunately, the Stinger, he got the ding onto Mitch, not enough to get the kill, and also just the continuous jiggle just runs out the bullets inside the chamber of the Stinger very quickly, and doesn't really allow here TSM to get a good pulse plant. I mean, also, at the same time, once they got control of the site and they got the first kill, I'm surprised that they didn't put into account Redux that got first blood there towards the C site, shot 2 shots at the pillar of the C site, yet still had a free kill from the back of spawn. So that's unfortunate. This is a timeout to just calm everybody down. Even at this point, if it's not going to be a case where they could close out this first map, you need to still maximize the time that you have here to just get them ready for the next map, because it's not theirs. It's going to be against Oxygen Esports map pick on Bind. So just try to bring that momentum back, right? This is where you had good results against M80 on your attack side with this composition. Just unfortunately for TSM, they haven't played that where at least Oxygen Esports is not playing that same composition that M80 is. And they just realized here that these fast tempo plays coming out from the defensive side are really picking them apart.
Yeah, I mean, just TSM needed to win pistol, kind of regather some momentum to just have a reset in their favor after the deficit, the 9-3 deficit going to the second half. But Oxygen, they match fire with fire, and TSM won't have the best of buys. They'll have at least one hero rifle, but TSM leaning towards A. Against the outlaw from Redux with his breach friend Mitch. And it's already going to push TSM back into that doorway. Paranoia sails by. GMD won't have that anymore. And TSM only have a Prowler left to get through this. And then Seven's dead on impact. So no good entry tools for TSM. And look at that. Verno and Mitch playing inside of the site, hoping to prevent this plan from going down in the first place.
At least they got the quick trade for TSM. This is still an opportunity here as the A site's weakened. They also don't have the best in their bonus. Oh, that's a solo play.
YOLO. It's a YOLO play if I've ever heard it. Expecting just a 1v1 and got more than he can chew. TSM not able to even up those numbers. Going for the big risk, big reward. At least the plant is down for Tree. And no util really for TSM to work with. Oxygen come in with Wingman to get some distraction. Taking care of Scuba is a great start, and TSM just play range and wait for Oxygen to come in.
Yeah, a little bit less of utility and discipline that wasn't actually displayed here by Oxygen, thinking that, I mean, it's understandable. It was 11-3 at this point, and they are doing a good job just winning every single duels until that moment. And they're like, you know what? Let's just duel our opponents on the retake. And unfortunately for them, they still have to play against some guys that could still shoot. And you're going to have TSM be able to stay alive for a bit longer, right? This Oxygen Esports econ is broken. You're going to 4-man push down towards the A side to control Orb at the same time for Verno. Picks it up now, has it ready potentially for the next round if he dies here, which he most likely will. But for TSM, they read it well in the beginning. Most of the focus is towards the C side. They're not going to find any opposition. And look at this triple walk. Because you're playing against a Cypher, they think they might be able to walk up here and catch the players of TSM going back and forth off rotates. But it's a jump spot instead, and they decide otherwise. Just leave Mitch towards the door and utilize him as a bait so they could swing out against TSM, walking into B main.
So little map control for TSM. I guess it doesn't matter because bigger guns, bigger kills, bigger plays. TSM get free 2 kills. Tuesday. What's up? What's up C-Site maybe too. I like that Verno and Dapper are trying to get close to get a classic right-click action, especially with how much map control TSM were giving up, and Oxygen aren't winning their duels though, so it doesn't matter what space you have.
And you tried to do some plays, right, for Oxygen. Only pistols this round.
Yeah.
You were discovered already by holding these tight angles, but got spotted by 7 with that Prowler. So some good util coming out from TSM, making sure that they don't go into any surprises in this eco round for Oxygen Esports. And for the other 2 players, the last 2 players here, trying not to give your life to somebody with a weapon, and that's Sim. He's remaining. 1 away to be able to get the showstopper. And the other one is by the front B main. So Sim is actually running towards that spot. So guaranteed showstopper in the next round.
That raise sometimes blends into the wall. I don't blame them checking it. And you're like, wait, I saw a ghost. But yeah, TSM are still at a pretty big deficit and hurting Oxygen's economy. This going into the second half, this is what they needed to do. And TSM are winning their gunfights. Yes, it was a difference of weaponry. Now that Oxygen have money, TSM are able to get some ults. How is this round gonna turn things?
Dude, shout out to Sherb in the chat. He said, hey, 311 if Fnatic could do it, TSM could do it.
Bruh.
I now believe. If Sherb said it as the all-star sub from last week, I believe him.
Sure,
so
like,
does TSM
they can't
now.
do it, I'll get subbed in.
Maybe. But yeah, it's still an important round here for both of these teams. Oxygen Esports having their showstopper. The op, though, pointed out towards B main, so they could fast rotate through Baby Door, and the stall is going to be coming out from Oxygen Esports on the top of the A site. Okay to give this away, knowing that it should be an execution with a showstopper, no matter where it's going to be. And because they have the camera up, they have an aggressive peek from Clove towards the C site. They have that inkling that the showstopper entry is going to be happening here towards A. And good on TSM, though. They just walk in.
I thought Proto was going to grab the orb for neural theft, and he'd rather just watch the Baby Door. Meanwhile, TSM stuffed the showstopper right at the top of the site, and they, because of that smoke, oh, good aftershock. Maybe Oxygen could still have the high ground with the boom bot and the util they're using. They got hit by a huge paranoia from GMD. But Oxygen, their eyes are open, and someone is detained from TSM.
Wow.
But it doesn't matter. TSM win the round.
What a good chess match in that round. Verno baiting up the showstopper by going into the Thrash and then instantly canceling it so that Sim just wastes out his rocket early. But what happens after? they still have forward position for TSM. GMD's playing that same spot under the heaven rope, and he throws a paranoia as soon as he hears the double ult coming out from the retake of Oxygen Esports, and it allows Sim to actually whack Redux from the air and cancel out the showstopper, and you have bodies behind everybody else to be able to trade perfectly in the post plant. And now Oxygen are back into another eco, back into trying to find pressure towards this A side, and Scuba's already down to half health, as looks like he was spotted somehow at the beginning of the round here towards the C site. Got some chip damage done. And TSM wanted to tempo up a bit and have an A Proto watching that flank. They're just waiting for this trip to break.
And both timeouts are available for Oxygen. I think if they lose, I mean, they're probably going to lose another round just based on weaponry here. No jinxing. But this is momentum that TSM needed to make some kind of a miracle comeback. Oxygen, again, with so much map control, with where they are pushed up in a lobby. They hear this coming. TSM don't know it, and they still get the upper hand against Mitch. Prowler, Breach Util, Oxygen, Falter. When they had map control, Redux will get away with one, and with the cage separating them, this Raze will escape. And Dapper is even gets a double kill with the Sheriff, and the neural theft is activated from a Proto. Break the glass. It's an emergency for TSM. They were going up against Sheriffs, and Oxygen have upgraded their weaponry. The plant will happen at B. 2v3, and Scuba will have the ult. Needs to get a kill ASAP, and the assist is there. Scuba will not return though, and a Proto has to hold the fort down. It's Dapper and Redux who swing at the worst times, but at least Redux gets the win for Oxygen to put them on match point.
They had so much information from a Proto at the start, from throwing that hat and getting that info, that it's a weak side C. But it's not that weak when it's Dapper with a Sheriff in that spot. You know that when he needs to pop off, there are these moments where he's going to be able to do it. Gets 2 kills, a hat, and all the information and weapon upgrades for this round to happen in favor of Oxygen Esports. It was an opportunity right there for TSM to really bring it back from the last few rounds that looked so good on their end, and they got thriftied to just slam the brakes against what could have been really an unstoppable train for TSM at this point on how clean it started looking. But you talked about it. The emergency switch, being pulled. And also with the timeout, despite the win for Oxygen, just to try to close out the series now.
And Oxygen were already saving money to have weaponry to this next round. They got denied a lot of the rifles they stole, but it wasn't even theirs to begin with. But it's match point, and Oxygen are using a timeout after winning the round to just discuss how are we going to close this out. You killed TSM's momentum. You stifled the energy on the field that there could be a comeback. Oxygen, what cheeky stuff could they do on the defense? A lot of map control has gone their way, from pushing aggressively on C Mound to going through B main. Having multiple people stacked in areas you wouldn't expect, and at least always having trades is why Oxygen are in the position they are.
Poise was rich too, almost bought an operator there for Sim, and to decide otherwise to have an operator on the attack side. They're trying to leverage these ults. They're trying to punish early. Redux already forced to fall back. An opportunity to take the C site. No Dapper here this time around. A TP towards the back of the site to guarantee now full site take. And GMD with the forward position to delay with this paranoia.
Plant. GMD, paranoia with the one way. Hear the boom bot, see the flash, and the gecko. Dizzy with Seb with 2, and including the paint shells right as Oxygen were surging in. They didn't see it because of the smoke. I can't believe Oxygen pushed through that. But they thought the initiators had this unlock. It's Sim with 3. Oxygen only have 2 left to retake, and they know with the state of the economy, they can't afford the 2v4 if it means risking their guns.
If anything, this is how TSM knew how Oxygen were going to retake that site on the C site, though, because it looked kind of weird of the one-way smoke. But on the side of Oxygen, they threw the Dizzy Flash, which actually blinded initially the first players trying to fight back towards the spawn. But then GMD had a paranoia. And then also Poise that was set up on the pulse plant inside the C site, flashed in that corner. He called it out. Everybody was playing anti and allowed Sim to get more kills against the players of Oxygen Esports trying to flood back towards the C side. So again, I feel that for some of these moments where, yes, TSM looks kind of flimsy on these one-on-one peaks, but they also have so many good moments where they play such good Valorant with good utility. And they just need to keep that consistency up in those type of fundamentals so that they could actually capitalize on the dub.
You gotta rely on the GOAT. It's Sim. Like, he got a 3K to pull a round out of his hat. He's spraying through smoke. Can I get a PC check on aisle 4? What the heck? Sim doesn't want to lose, and he won't allow his team to lose at this point. But a first blood isn't everything. Oxygen with this cage wanted... Well, it's not their cage, but it allowed them to get closer to Rumble. It's a 1-to-1 scrap. And Oxygen are in a tough spot. Verno will flash to get himself out. He'll lean towards B, and he could come up from behind Sim and deny the showstopper. Yes, he doesn't have the best gun in terms of fire rate to go up against 7. Now with a 1v4, Mitch is left to save this gun.
No choice too. Staying just behind the trip. For TSM, they had 50 seconds. They wanted to make sure that nobody else is going to try to push into a surprise play. A Proto is coming out to play. He did not care that Mitch hit the trip and did not wait for Mitch to move forward. He just swung out, big balls, gets the kill, and puts Oxygen into an eco.
And this is a TSM that had a rough last week. They said it was a win, but it was off of medical issues, and having a sub come in, and for a Proto to step up in this way is, I'm sure, massive for his confidence. And for TSM to sell us a fake or maybe real comeback. We're gonna see how the scrap for A lobby goes, and the flash hits Redux, and once he's awake, he gets one for the road. And you thought TSM had the jump. It's like a 5v1, and Redux still gets a kill. That's incredible.
Where you are.
It's the power of the young fraggers here for Oxygen Esports, and now you have a hat available. Neural Theft thrown out by a Proto. We've seen this story before. They know that Dapper's towards his side, yet they still want to commit. This time around, though, made sure that Dapper cannot throw anything, as he only has 1, a classic, and 2, a one-way smoke being thrown by TSM, so that nobody could cross over. And look at Oxygen, all of them holding out here. Not really looking like they want to fully commit out yet until this fault line comes out.
With the smoke from Scuba, they don't have to worry about A long. TSM are going to sit in tree as best as they can, and everyone's flashed. No one knows where to look, and as everyone emerges, we have a 2v2 with TSM. Oh, Scuba, that was a bad timing. Lucky for a Proto, Verno taking his time. But TSM now at 9, 3 away from matching the score.
I was gonna say maybe they do want to throw away their bodies so that TSM can start building up on ult. And also wasting out the Rolling Thunder from Poise ended up being actually a very good clutch Rolling Thunder, because Oxygen Esports on pistols outside of the classic, a couple of them had shares and did heavy damage against TSM. But thankfully, TSM did not let any Thrifty fall through the cracks here. They were able to close out against the pistol round of Oxygen Esports. Attack on the... up on the attack side, rather. And this time, Sim misses it, but he could still close in and create space with the showstopper. I feel that he should give his op away. There you go. He gave it to a Proto so that he could actually showstopper in and get the Vandal space inside the C site.
No one gets the op now.
Also true.
Showstopper at the ready. Dip dive and dodge, and Dapper's in the corner, hidden on the other side of the cage, and then he rounds about his kill story. This TSM entry has been nullified, and Oxygen, with a flawless round, will take Lotus.
You would never expect Dapper to be in that corner behind a cage, and what saves him throughout the whole utility that's being thrown out here by TSM is his own trip, his own cage, Inverno's Dizzy that actually Goop players jumping across and for him to pick up a 3K on top of that. What a nice little cheeky angle being played by Dapper and Oxygen Esports, able to close out that first map.
That got a little hairy at the end, though. That
It
got very close. TSM were on a 6-round comeback after the 9-3 deficit they experienced in the first half. And this series is exciting, and I can't wait for more. We'll see you on the other side of the break.